Longevity and rejuvenation. Well, longevity depends upon knowing how things work and doing things in the right way at the right time. Then you preserve yourself and you last a long time. There's a poem that I like very much. It's about 1,000 years old, and it reads, "Look here, the legs are two wheels. The body is a wagon full of things. 5 men drive the wagon, and 1 man is not like another. Unless you ride it in full knowledge of its ways, the axle will break." All right, so the topic today is how to live forever, right? Scary thought, that. Well, there is the idea of strengthening is a very important one, and the idea of drainage is another important one in terms of a clinical approach. So these are the two basic ideas that exist in a clinical approach, in a naturopathic clinical approach. So what I mean by drainage is sometimes there is an excess of something or another in the body. Let's say an excess of mucus can be found, or an excess of what we call heat. So there might be inflammation that's going on, and it feels like a kind of heat in the body with different signs and symptoms. So at certain times, it's time to focus on this whole idea of drainage. And but when there are signs of weakness, then it's important to focus on the concept of strengthening. So what I'll do is I'll go over signs and symptoms that should indicate which of these two avenues should be followed. And when it comes to drainage and strengthening, it's possible to be very general about it, and it's possible to be very specific in terms of specific organs, specific glands, specific areas of the body. There's a lot of art that's possible. Let me start by giving you a set of symptoms that, if they exist, then it's time to consider strengthening as the main thing. Okay. The phrase that I'll start off with might be something that you would remember, or you would find useful remembering, because it'll encapsulate all that's about to come. And the phrase is giving into gravity, essentially. All right? Things start falling. So the bladder doesn't hold. That's an example of giving into gravity. Hemorrhoids are an example of giving into gravity. So people, if they stand for too long a time, the hemorrhoids can come on. It's because there's not enough energy there to resist against the force of gravity. A desire to lie down and sleep for long periods of time, that's another example of giving into gravity. Hair that loses its body, begins to get limp. It's also giving into gravity. Eyelashes that used to be curly but now are straight or actually falling down. Okay, these are all signs. Hair that begins to be lost easily upon brushing, that's another sign, because it's falling off. It's not being maintained and held up. Muscle strength, so the ability to simply pick something up. So a physical weakness is another kind of thing that should indicate strengthening needs to be key. So when these signs are present, fasting is not the thing to do. Okay? Fasting is useful. Fasting does not build strength. It can rob the body of strength. There's a time and place for fasting. Fasting is not a cure-all for everything. If it's done at the wrong time, it can cause weakness of systems and tissues and organs, which further then needs to be built up. Other signs of giving into gravity: dizziness. So you're literally, you might fall because now the blood pressure can't be sustained. So there's a sensation of falling down. So these are some of the more important signs. There are signs specific to various systems that indicate that there's a weakness that goes on. Respiratory system, shortness of breath, inability to blow a candle out, that's maybe 2 or 3 feet away. That one could easily have blown out before. Going up the stairs and there's a shortness of breath. These are signs of weakness that have come on. When it comes to digestion, the inability or the reduced ability to be able to digest foods without them having some kind of problem. So a heaviness. So this is something that indicates that the digestive system is weak. It needs to be strengthened. It's for some reason sluggish. It's slowed down. Another sign of weakness in the intestinal system is stools that have undigested food particles or are not well formed. They're loose. So these are signs of weakness rather than signs that indicate fasting should be done. Even fasting is just a word, but a fast can be anything from nothing but water for 7 days to anything, nothing but soup for 7 days, which is not exactly what people consider fasting. So there's a lot of variation in how diet can be modified to resemble this word called fasting. So even the kind of fast needs to be matched to the amount of strength the person has. So if a person's got these signs of weakness and they try to do a 3 or 4 day juice fast, they're simply going to get faint and fall down. And they're going to burn out their adrenal system, and they might burn out their thyroid system in the process if they're really weak and they do this for a week straight. So time and place for everything. Signs of weakness, it's time to rest and build up. Now, the other types of symptomatology is around excess rather than weakness. So signs of weakness are not present in such a scenario. What we have instead is that the body is full of usually some kind of substance. Okay, mucus in the lungs, mucus in the throat, mucus in the stools, gumminess of the eyes, which is a kind of mucousy phenomena. And the other kind of thing that gets to be in excess is what is known as heat. So a sensation of warmth in the body, flushes of heat, a burning sensation on the tongue, in the mouth, little mouth sores, cuts on the tongue, a burning sensation around the eyes, a burning sensation with urination, a burning sensation with having bowel movements. Now, what sometimes happens is that you can have signs of what is known as heat or damp, or heat and damp together, at the same time that there are signs of weakness. So in nature doesn't fit categories very neatly. She just exists as she does. So then it becomes an art to figure out to what extent weakness is present and to what extent an excess is present, and to match the therapeutic approach precisely.